These are movements, compounded movements that don't happen when a baby's swaddled. And that's why swaddling becomes very addictive. The decision to swaddle really has to be made as to what's up with the child. That first breath, and that snap, almost like a rubber band or just snapping into place, right? If that doesn't happen, I'm going to tell you right now, you've got muscle tonus issues, either for low tone or high tone. But I'm telling you right now, if a child needs to be swaddled, they need a movement lesson or some form of early intervention sooner than later. I have a solution to your situation, I thought I'd take a little bit of time to talk about swaddling. It's not about do or don't do. We have to offer solutions. And to offer solutions, we have to understand why. So to calm a baby down, a lot of people introduced swaddling. But the swaddling lots of times is also looked at as this is how you get the baby to sleep. This is how you get to baby, or, it brings back memories of the womb. Hence delivery. We're done with the womb time, right? Womb time is done. In the womb, you are meant to grow in all directions in a frictionless environment. What does that mean? The difference, though, in the womb is there's no elimination. Meaning you're not breathing, you're not eating, you're not eliminating waste, you're not eliminating air. So you don't have this friction that can create with expansion mode. What is friction? Cord around the neck. Arthrogryposis, when you start seeing. Hands should not cross in the womb whatsoever, because it will cause friction in the cellular development of the system, right? And it will go on. The baby is no longer in neutral, right? Neutral is where it needs to be. So the first developmental milestone actually that happens, and this is stuff that you learn in the cranial course, is again, your bones are meant to be subluxed. And so as the baby is coming out, right, this is this first exposure to gravity. So imagine if you had a balloon, a cold balloon from cold temperature going into hot temperature, right? Just that expansion of helium creates that whoosh. But the parietal bones, and they're quite large, will hit gravity, and that's your extension. That brings in the neck, that brings in all of that. It is the first articulation of skeletal bones, and it goes against gravity, right? What that also is happening right then, it pulls the pellet up, right? Creates a cavity, and another one I'll post is a live version of an MRI of a birth. You can see all of this, and it pulls the tongue. So one of the things I present is sucking's not a reflex. That's in my paper, and again, my Harvard presentation of infant developmental movement patterns. So when that champagne cork, or what's called cavitation, happens, right, there's foam in your lungs, just like there's the same instance in champagne, the cavitation, and that hits, and all the nitrogen, oxygen, carbon release and hit into that lungs. So there's an expansion of the inner lungs as well as a draw of the breath, and that's where the epidermis and the intercostal muscles in between the ribs create muscle tonus, right? If those ribs do not expand from the inside out, from the outside in, and all of that first breath, and that snap, almost like a rubber band or just snapping into place, right? If that doesn't happen, I'm going to tell you right now, you've got muscle tonus issues, either for low tone or high tone, right? And so that's where, too, I've created the breathing course, which is a free course. It's a great course to regulate and bring that. These create forces in the body. This is what the epidermis works with, and that goes on. Now, another thing that happens is from the birth on, it's the first time that your bones, your skeletal bones, are exposed to a phenomenon called buoyancy, right? This is stuff that I'm presenting in my gravity book. So these bones, right, they expand. And so these are your first refluxes, is actually the skeletal system learning how to move in gravity. If you look at plantar and palmar with the reflexes that are supposedly in the hands, they are not open and close. That is not a reflex, right? I get it, I should be able to close my hands and I should open it. But what is actually happening, right, almost like an amoeba, the baby's hands and feet are going in and out of gravity, and by doing that, they create a counter. This is why the human body is set up with two bones on the extremities, almost like a rudder on a plane. Otherwise, we'd be stick figures and the hands would go like that you see in animated skeletal stuff, because they don't realize that elbow crossing midline and all of that. These are movements, compounded movements that don't happen when a baby's swaddled. And I get it, we just want our babies, we don't want them to cry. But one of the things I have to teach here is babies need to cry. Babies need to, there's a difference between I'm hungry, to just barking, you know. So again, the decision to swaddle really has to be made as to what's up with the child. Because if the child's not sleeping, that's your number one. But I'm telling you right now, if a child needs to be swaddled, they need a movement lesson or some form of early intervention sooner than later. So those are the things I want you to consider. Again, it's not about to do or not to do a movement. It's why are we deciding to do this? Why are we doing that? If you look at all the ads, all the baby shower gifts, the top 10 gifts to give a baby create immobility and movement. And this is where I talk about vision all the time, right? Again, if your baby is not in these kind of modes, look at what's happening with the vision, with that countering. So when they're here, and yeah, this is why the conversation, the vision seems off, and it is going off. But it's finding out what's up with the movement and then how we can not only assess the child. Everybody will tell you what's wrong. Everybody will tell you what's wrong. Well, who are the ones you want to listen to are the people who are saying, okay, I have a solution to your situation, Another way of looking at swaddling in that way, you can say, again, more rural countries do it and the children are fine. I'm sorry to say you're not getting scientists, you're not getting mathematicians. It's not about to swaddle or not to swaddle. It's offering a brain an opportunity that needs to happen and can happen. And when it's not happening, it's then that we need to be proactive in our child's life to find a solution. The body's development is very interesting, but when we deviate it, but more so, you can't just say don't swaddle. Now you have to show that nervous system how to exist without the swaddling. And that's why swaddling becomes very addictive, right? Because a baby feels a movement, then they're like, oh, you know, and they wake up. I show how to, in a sense, birth or unswaddle a baby in a hospital. So I'll be playing that within this conversation. So I hope this helps you understand swaddling. And by the way, my Harvard demonstration, if you want to watch that on infant developmental movement patterns, will take you through this into more development of the child from birth to 4.5 months, that you can see, you know, different aspects of development within this process.